Welcome back, everyone, to S1E1, the show where each week we pick a different show, watch just its first episode, and discuss it, eliminating anything we may know about the future of that show. This week we're going to be talking about Ghosted. Ghosted went 16 episodes, only one season on Fox. We're going to be talking about episode 1 today, which was called Pilot, originally airing October 1st, 2017. I'm your host, Jay Gags, and with me as always, the guys, Gordo, Joe, Ferg, and Nick. What's going on, everybody?
Heyo.
Heyo.
Bring me a higher love.
I think we got the best Kevin Spacey.
Yeah. So both of those things are very much in my notes, and we're going to highlight both of those things later for different reasons.
One doesn't hold up very well.
No.
That was just what we like to call unfortunate timing.
No,
on behalf of
amazing
Ghosted.
timing.
I can't wait to get into that specific thing. We'll get to that later on. Just to start off, Ghosted. Has anyone seen Ghosted before we recorded this episode?
I didn't know the show
Have I
existed.
never seen it. Exactly.
Yeah.
I had no idea the show existed, and I watch a lot of television. They really dropped the ball with advertising this show. Like,
Yeah, I'd never
Yeah, I
heard of
think-
it before, and I love all the people on it. It's kind of weird that most of us hadn't even heard of it before.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what happened as far as their PR went, but Ferg's right. They dropped the ball big time.
Well, I think
Yeah.
they hired a PR firm, but then they ghosted them.
Oh!
So,
Starting
yeah,
off strong.
To peel back a little bit, this is a show that we all collectively talked about doing for a while when we discovered this show existed. And we're waiting for now because to get into it, it's October. This is week 2 of October. We're doing all Halloween or supernatural type episodes for the entire month. So Ghosted fit into here, but we've wanted to do this for a while, actually. And I've personally wanted to check out this show since we discovered it because I love Adam Scott. I love Craig Robinson, but I really wanted to wait and watch it fresh so we can discuss, and I didn't want to watch the whole season if I ended up liking it. So went in, very raw with this for the first time, seeing the pilot episode so we could record.
Is this the first episode that we've all been raw and we all haven't seen it?
I think it has to be.
It has,
Must
yeah,
be,
I would assume so, yeah.
Wow, it's a first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't really think of that, actually.
Yeah, because even like things like Country Comfort, like Joe had already watched. If you want to go
All
back
of
to the archives.
All of it.
So, yeah, it's really tough. It's tough to find a show that none of us have seen. And if none of us have seen it, it's tough for us to think to do the show,
Yeah, true.
So, yeah, let's get right into it. So the opening scene tells you that we're in Los Angeles, and we just see a man running through like a warehouse, and there's like sirens going off, and he ends up on the roof, and we see some like blue glowing like metal thing. Like I couldn't really take what it was at the time. And then he runs back downstairs, starts recording himself, leaving like a distress message saying he thinks that he might be in trouble if anything were to happen to him. Find Leroy, Wright, and Max Jennifer because they can help. And as soon as he says that, he's zapped by this large Ghostbusters-like beam,
Yeah.
and it kind of just freezes him, and that's where we end off.
It was very
So-
Ghostbustery.
Yeah.
I was gonna
It
say,
was, yeah.
yeah.
Nick, did you notice that this is almost identical to the opening scene of Chuck?
So, yeah, I'm going to save that for later, but I did notice a lot of similarities, yeah.
I will say this opening scene, I hated it. So it's
Why?
It's so network television-y.
Yeah, it reminded me of. Do you remember shows? Another Fox show. Do you remember that show Mantis? I think we talked about Mantis before.
We just had a combo about Mantis.
Yeah, it reminded me of like Mantis or something that would be on Sci-Fi Network that you'd see 2 minutes of and just be like, "No, I'm leaving." And that's not my whole
Yeah.
opinion on this show, of course.
I
but
have
the
never
opening
said that
scene-
when watching Mantis, all right?
No, Mantis was fantastic. It was the steal of our generation. But yeah, I don't know. It just seemed it was so hokey, and it wasn't in a charming hokey way yet, And I feel like the show got charmingly hokey later on. But this one scene, if someone just showed me this and said, "Would you watch it?" I would have said no.
Right, yeah.
I still would have.
Yeah, I don't know if I had much opinion. I didn't really delve that deep. It was an opening scene. They were kind of setting the scene, and I really didn't know what to make of it, but I didn't have a strong opinion one way or another, I guess.
I audibly groaned at that scene, and then Kelsey handed me a cookie that had salt on it. I had never had a cookie with salt on it before, and then I went, ooh, and then I was perked up for the rest of the episode. I don't know why that matters, but I had my first salt cookie before. Very good.
What about like salted caramel? Like that's a thing.
I guess the caramel is salted, but this cookie had salt on the outside.
Okay.
It was a chocolate chip cookie made with tahini and had salt on it. I'm a world traveler.
Yeah, that's how that works.
Did you smudge the chocolate into your couch while eating it?
The cookie exploded while I was eating it.
There's a hole in my cookie.
But slush came out of it.
It was chocolate salted caramel cherry. I fucked up real hard on that one.
You guys will have to go back a couple episodes. Was it the Scrubs episode that got discussed?
I think it was.
If you don't know what we're talking
believe
about,
so.
yeah,
I think it was
Two
Scrubs,
episodes
yeah.
ago, Al.
yeah.
That's all
Or
I
check
know.
out our Instagram S1E1 Pod. You can find actually the story about Joe and his slush adventures. It's in the videos there, so you can check it out there if you want. But always if there's an episode you hadn't listened to already, go back in the archives and give it a shot. But yeah, let's continue on. So now we're at a bookstore where we see like a woman picking out a book for her husband, and the attendant, who's played by Adam Scott, starts to help her out. Before we even move on, Adam Scott has been in so many things. Anything you guys best know him from, or the first thing you think of when you see his face?
Parks and Rec.
For me, it's Step Brothers. Yeah.
The Good Place.
Actually, yeah, I don't know. Parks and Rec and Step Brothers might be like right there, but I've seen more of Parks and Rec, so I feel like I would recognize him from that.
I
But
feel like
Yeah,
now it's
I-
Parks and Rec.
He was
I've
also-
seen more Parks and Rec, but I've seen Step Brothers first.
right, yeah,
Ferg, same,
He's-
yeah.
But he's one of those guys. He was I saw Step Brothers first, and so it was tough for me to get over hating him. You know what I mean?
That was Bradley Cooper in The Wedding
exactly,
Singer.
that
I
was
hated
my-
him for
yeah.
so long. I hated him for so long because of that.
You
role.
mean the Wedding Crashers?
Wedding Crashers? I'm sorry. What did I say?
For Wedding
Singer.
Singer.
The Wedding Singer has no bad characters except Glenn Goulia. He's a piece of shit.
Julia Goulia. Glad it never happened. Although Glenn Goulia is great in Rockstar.
So, all right. So let's get back into it. So now, Adam Scott, who plays Max in this show, starts to help her out. As the two get to chatting, she asks him if he's married, and he's like, "Yeah, well, sort of. No, yeah." And then that's when he explains that his wife was abducted by aliens, and the woman's like, "Okay, bye." He's like, "Wait," and. He's trying to just explain the situation. He's not crazy. He's like, in fact, I'm a professor. I was a professor at Stanford for astrophysics. She runs off with her kid. He then finishes by saying that even if he is crazy, that doesn't mean that, she still can't buy the book. And those
Solid
two,
logic.
yeah, 'cause he's like, those two things are unrelated. And he's sort of like grabbed like out of nowhere, like you can't see like who it was, just hands, and he gets like stabbed in the neck by some sort of a needle, which like takes him out. So that's our introduction to his character. Any thoughts of that scene?
I enjoyed that scene. She's also in a. can't think of her name, and I had it
Is
written
she
down.
the girl in Donnie Darko?
No,
The-
I think
the
she's
girl
too
that
young
they-
for that.
I don't know. I mean,
I thought she's one of the girls
Charita,
that
I
Michael
think her
brings
name
home
is.
in the office
Shut up.
from Benihana, right? She's in a bunch of stuff lately. I think isn't she an AP Bio, Ferg?
She's one of the Benihana waitresses.
Don't remember her in AP Bio, but
I'm pretty sure. Hold on.
We
I'd
should
have to, like-
should have looked her up ahead of time so we had all this stuff ready to go instead of us
she
all
was
just
just
guessing.
a random minor character. I didn't think to look
Yeah, I didn't think we were going to
Yeah.
further discuss her. So
I saw
didn't
her and
get
I
into it.
immediately recognized her and was like, wait, I know her, and I'm pretty sure she's the girl from the Benihana episode, but she's also in a ton of stuff, and I think she's in AP Bio as well. Now I,
wouldn't
feel
even
like
know,
a weirdo, and if I'm
how to
wrong,
look
a
her up.
racist.
Like,
Like, yeah, the girl there, it's Kula Vilyasak. She is one of the girls that Michael brings home from Benihana in The Office. And
So
she's
that
in a
would be the
million
one
other-
he was dating, right? That's the one he gave the bike to.
Yeah. She's
Okay.
also
Yes.
in, I don't know if you guys ever saw the show Bajillion Dollar Properties.
Nope.
Before
Mm-mm.
Peacock was a thing, NBC had their own streaming channel for like, I don't know, 6 or 8 months before it tanked. And the one original show they had on there was this like fake show about, like a show that was like a fake reality show about like all those stupid like property brothers and everything.
yeah.
That's really, really funny. And she was one of the characters on that. I wonder if that's streaming on Peacock now.
Probably. If they own it, they probably tossed it in there. It's
Yeah,
not
I
gonna
forget
get
what the show was
advertised.
called, but it was I mean what the channel was called, but it was the first place where you could watch like every
Pluto?
episode of Saturday Night Live, but they were all like 8 minutes long because they don't own the rights to anything anymore.
I
Was
think
it Quibbly or
Pluto
something like
TV.
that?
Something like Quibbly, yeah.
Yeah.
No, Pluto still exists. That's just like a streaming channel.
Oh, okay. All right.
All right, so let's get into the next scene. So now we're at a mall food court. We see like a shot of someone finishing their like mall Chinese food, and I want to distinguish mall Chinese food because it's not the same as like takeout Chinese food, which we get.
It makes me think of all the times we'd go to the mall and everybody would get Chinese food, and I would still just get Sparrow.
Yeah, but it's a different
You're the
kind of
worst.
food, and I just think that really needs to be pointed out. That mall Chinese food and like Chinese food that you'll order like at your local spot are not the same thing. They're different things. on
See, here's the
menu. They
thing,
taste
Jay.
completely
I
different.
think being from the Northeast, we are spoiled as far as Chinese food goes. I think mall Chinese food is probably closer to reality in other parts of the country.
That is extremely sad.
It is.
Can I interject here that they in the
Yes, Tupac.
for Asian food, they actually have like a really robust chamber of
That's-
commerce, so that they actually do a lot of the market research and tell people where to go and where to open up restaurants and give them funds to do it. So that's why you'll find them in like rural New Hampshire or in like these more rural areas, because they do the market research for them to open up these.
It seems
Right.
exotic.
It's just weird to me because then you have like traditional like cuisine from those countries, like if whether it be like Cantonese food or Chinese food, and it's not what we eat here.
Oh God,
then,
no.
But then mall Chinese food is a whole different thing, different
Yeah.
from what we consider Chinese food. It's like there's like 3 different tiers of what
It's like
Chinese food could
fast
be.
food version of Chinese food.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was just gonna say that.
And I was never a fan of like that kind of Chinese food, but there's one in the corner mall downtown Boston. I forget the name of it actually, but I fucking love it. It's so
Panda
good.
Palace? Is it
No,
Panda
it's
Palace?
not there. I'm not even sure I would know it if you said it. I just walk up and order it.
Oh, I know what one you're talking about.
It's called lids.
Is it like?
Great chicken.
But yeah,
It's
okay.
called Great
So
Chicken?
in any event, this
Umi
mall
or Japan wasn't bad.
Umi is good.
this mall Chinese food is being consumed by a security guard who's played by Craig Robinson, who, again, we were just talking about The Office. To me, is best known from The Office. He's done a ton of stuff, but that
Had to be
Hot
the
Tub
first
Time
thing I know
Machine
him
now,
from.
like, depending on how you would know him, like, he's been in so much stuff.
Zach and Miri make a porno,
Oh, right.
That's right.
which I love The Office. I'll think of him first, but I hate that the second thing I think of for him is Zach and Miri make a porno.
He has a nice,
Oh,
like,
that's a great
annual...
movie.
It's a good movie, yeah.
It
Yeah,
is a good movie. Yeah, it's probably
It's
the
like a
last
nice
good
an-
thing Kevin Smith did.
He has a nice annual cameo in, like, Brooklyn Nine-Nine. He's usually, like, one episode a season.
Who's also in
Whitaker
This Is the
Cromwell.
End, but as himself.
Right.
Oh, that was
He's
good
one
too.
of those
yeah.
guys.
I still haven't seen
he'll pop
Brooklyn
up in
Nine-Nine.
any
I'm sure that's
any
coming soon.
sitcom eventually, like even if it's a one-off.
Yeah, he's like a
always
perennial
popping
sitcom
up.
pop-in guy,
So he's talking to
like
a
cool
boy.
Matt Volyasak.
So he's talking to a boy who's with his mother, and I guess he spent 15 years in the LAPD with the boy's father before he started working this mall gig, and said that the father always wanted his son to end up in college. So as a result, he gets him what looks like an SAT prep book, and the kid's like, "Dude, I'm 12," and the mother's like, "Come on, be respectful. Be respectful. That was really nice of him," and walks off. And then he's like, he said, "Turn to page 6, you little bitch." And then hiding inside of the book is a video game, which created for the show, I assume. I'm not much a gamer. You guys would know better than me, but I'm assuming Blood Soldiers
Yeah, that's not
Subterranean
a
Ops
game.
is a fake video game.
Not a real game, yeah.
But would
But I
you
could
play it
see
if
it.
it was?
Yes.
I could see
Okay.
it.
Depends.
Yeah.
Is it an FPS? Because then no.
You
he
just
tells
said
him-
everything out loud that I have no idea what it means.
Yeah.
Did that on purpose.
He tells him to let him know when he gets to level 18 to call him because there's some tricky stuff in there, and he'll help him walk him through. And then he notices a crazy guy just peeing in the fountain and yells at him to
The
stop.
line.
He's like,
Because other homeless people get a drink out of that.
yeah.
I thought that was a good line.
And he's like, you're not even getting it all in. So he's like dribbling. So now he goes to the janitor closet because he has to find something to clean it up. And then he too is then grabbed and stabbed in the neck with a needle. So these are the two guys. I mean, we know that I would assume at this point, these were the two guys that the man in the opening scene called for in case anything happened to him.
Now, quick question, because this crossed my mind when we were watching it, and I'm in real time question going to ask Gordo.
Yes.
Have you ever peed in a fountain before?
I believe so.
Okay, I believe that's true. I mean, it would have shocked me if you had a flat no on that one.
I think I got
I was
drunk and
expecting I pooped in one, but I've never peed.
I think I peed in the one in Copley Square.
That sounds right.
Like
You
when
and
I
a
was
lot
really
of other
drunk.
people, I'm sure.
That's never entered my brain, the thought of peeing in a fountain.
No, it's drained out.
It would have been
The
the
one-
weirdest place you've peed, Jay.
No, the weirdest, I guess I'll get into it. The weirdest place I've ever peed was in line of a drive-thru at a Taco Bell. I got
and then
out
you
of the
ate
car.
shit afterwards.
I got out of the car, went to the back of the car, turned to the car behind us, and like peed like on their car.
Congrats, you're a sex offender now.
Yeah,
Oh my
I
god,
was-
his nuts are so big.
I was a lot younger and under the influence of a lot of alcohol, and I'm not.
Did they flash their
condoning-
high beams at you? That's what my first move would have been. Just
think-
blind you and
I
make
think it
you
was
fall
just shock.
over and pee
You know,
on
like
yourself.
what do you do in that moment? You know,
Beep the horn and
Beep the horn, hit the high
videotape
beams.
you.
obviously I was a man who didn't care. So like, what was the horn gonna do at that point? But I was a different person in my young 20s.
I was waiting for. I was a different person yesterday.
Getting there, slowly trying to grow up. But unless anyone else has any other fun pee stories, I guess we can move forward. But
I can't think of any pun pee stories.
yeah,
I
So-
can think of others. Go to try and do other bathroom stuff stories, but peas usually enter into the equation.
Fucking
Right.
fun.
R.I.P. Gordo's thumb.
I forgot about that.
so all right. So now we get to the title screen, which is just the name of the show. We don't have an intro or anything fun like that to really discuss. Now when we cut back, the two men are both now in the back of a moving van, and they're coming. They're starting to come to. They exchange a few quick words, and early on, you can kind of see the dynamic between the two. Leroy is more the straight man to Max's annoyingness. Not so much a comedic thing, but he just annoys him. And Max is asking him what the plan is, and then Leroy tells him, like, first you just need to remain calm, which just gets Max more riled up, just trying to, anticipate what the plan's going to be. From the front of the van, we see, like, this, like, little door slide open, and we meet their kidnapper, Barry, who tells
Introduces
them,
himself as such.
yeah, I'm your kidnapper, Barry. And he tells him that he works for a top secret government agency, but that's all he can say. And he shuts the door and then opens. He's like, you know what? That was kind of rude. And then he felt it was a little unfair. And he explains to them that he works for the Bureau Underground and they invest paranormal and anything outside the scientific realm.
I can already tell, like, if I were to continue this series, he'll become my favorite character. The guy's awesome.
He was fun, yeah.
Yeah.
You know who he kind of reminds me of? Like the way the tone, and I wish I remember the name of the character. Who's like that, like rock monster from Thor Ragnarok?
Korg.
Doug, wasn't it?
No,
Korg.
no, Doug's
Korg.
dead. Korg.
Oh, Korg.
is the character.
Well, we
Yeah,
thought
he
Doug was
kinda-
dead.
Yeah, he kind of reminds me of
Doug's
him.
He directed that movie, didn't he?
Voiced by Tata Waititi.
What?
Don't like him.
That's his. He directed Thor
That's
Ragnarok.
the
didn't he?
guy. That's the guy that voices him and
Oh.
the director. Yep.
And
Taika
Jojo Rabbit, right?
Waititi.
Which is great.
I have to say his name like that to pronounce it right. I don't know. Why.
The character kind of reminded me of MBBS because his name was Barry, but NoHo Hank on Barry.
Yeah,
Like,
oh
if
my
that
God, what a
guy
character.
opened- If he opened the slide and was like, "Hey, buddy," like it would have worked fucking perfectly.
No, Hank is. I would love to do that show soon, actually. Although it's not really a sitcom, is it?
It's a drama.
Not really,
Yeah.
yeah. Maybe a bonus episode down the line.
That guy, though. Oh my God, one of the best characters in TV.
Oddly enough, too, he's from Boston.
Is he
And he's
really?
one of those dudes who can turn on the Boston accent to make
Really?
you really realize it. Like he just goes into a bit of like what every shitty kid went to high school it sounds like, and it's perfect.
He was in that Kevin Hart movie that just came out on Netflix.
Oh, yeah, he's like one of his friends and
Get on a
coworkers or something.
tangent
Right?
on no.
So,
Love
anyways,
No
yeah.
Hank. I feel bad I can't remember
because
the
he's
guy's
not
name.
in
He's
the
great,
show.
though.
But yeah, so Leroy's response to all this is like, "Are we on a hidden camera show? Is Alex Trebek gonna come out right now?" And then Max's answer was great because he's just like, "When did Alex Trebek have a hidden camera show?"
How did I miss that?
Yeah. So then they arrive at their
R.I.P.
destination. Yeah, R.I.P. Alex Trebek. Because again, the show is what 2016? Did I say so?
2018.
Yeah.
2018?
something like that.
I think it's
Alex Trebek just
2017.
died last
2017
year, or
was
just-
in the middle. Yeah.
I thought it was 16. No.
I'll go back. It was 2017. So at the time, he was still alive and
Booyah.
well. I don't know about well, but he was alive. And
he probably was feeling like shit, but he was alive.
Yeah,
Good
he was
for
alive.
you, Atrebs.
So yeah, once again they get stabbed in the neck, and now they come to a second time, and now they're like handcuffed to a couple chairs, where this woman who is played by Amber Stevens West, by the way, who's in a good amount of things herself.
Real dime.
I couldn't figure out. Oh, she was the younger girl. I was talking about the older blonde that's like in charge. I couldn't figure out what she was from.
No. So that girl who enters, she starts to kind of measure them for either body armor or a coffin. It was like, oh, interesting. But to go back to her, actually, she's in a show, or was in a show that also only had like a 1-season run called Happy Together, and that was with Damon Wayans Jr., which I had actually seen a good amount of. And that's a show that I would like to do with you guys at some point, because I'm sure most of you didn't see that.
Can we do like a Wayne's month and also do the Wayne's Brothers show? And
We could
I
do
know
New
there's-
Girl. He's in that too.
We could do a Wayne's month.
I would love a Wayne's month.
But yeah, so and then we get the captain enters, Captain Laffrey, who introduces them to the Bureau Underground, and she shows them the message we saw at the beginning of the show, that like selfie video from the guy who disappeared.
The scene from Mantis.
Yes, and she asked them to join them for like one mission for only 2 days, with promises first for like Max to get his old job back, working at Stanford, and he immediately says yes. And Leroy's like, "What are you doing? Like, they kidnapped us."
Yeah.
And Max is now concerned. He's like, "I'm kind of under the impression that we're a package deal, so like, if I'm on board and you're not, like, I might not get this." So, and then Leroy says that he can't because every morning he meets up with his boys to discuss world affairs at Panera Bread, and he's kind of the unofficial leader, unless Jerry's there. And then it gets kind of weird. But then she promises that if he helps, he'll get his job back at the LAPD. So now he's on board.
So basically, pretty easy conceit. You do this thing, we'll get you back from your disgraced lives into your, former glory.
Yeah.
And we do find out that he was like a missing persons officer, right?
The
Yeah.
best missing persons.
That's when that
detective
was
on there.
discovered.
Which I
correct?
feel like you really gotta have bad conduct if you're the best at doing something like finding missing people to lose your job. Like I understand he
Yeah.
explains later on, but that doesn't seem enough to me to be like, oh, we're gonna fire
You know
and
that
then just
something
not
happened,
find
for
those
sure.
people anymore.
Yeah, you definitely know at this point something happened.
Like if you're like a cold case person, you solve every murder that's ever happened that nobody can solve, and then you like spill coffee on your captain. They're like, "Fuck you, buddy, you're out of here." Like, but no one else can do that. It seems silly to me. But
Yeah,
again, this episode of Mantis is not that serious.
There's people who are listening right now like, are they mantis or ghost? What are we talking about? For those
Are
of
they
you who want to watch
praying
along,
that we do Mantis?
I would
yes.
do Mantis, but it's not a sitcom.
It was fairly funny.
So,
It's
anyways,
not a sitcom on purpose.
Okay, fair.
so they agree that they're gonna, do this, and now they're on this like tour of Bureau Underground, and we just kind of see pictures on the walls of like various supernatural type things, whether it be like alien or otherwise. And I thought it was funny because like absorbing all this information, the first thing Leroy thinks of is like, have you guys ever seen a Yeti? Like that's the most insane thing of all the supernatural stories, like with ghosts and aliens, like a Yeti, which is probably the
be
most
fair,
I
most
think
plausible.
Bigfoot was huge at that time, 2017. I mean,
He had his
everyone's
moment.
talking about that dumb show. And the Yeti
I
is
love that
technically
show.
Bigfoot.
I love that show.
Was
See?
it that Hulu
Well,
documentary from last year that was about like weed farmers in Northern California, and it was like a true crime type thing, and halfway through I was like, wait, is this just about Bigfoot now? And like I thought we were high because the next hour of the show was just like, yeah, man, he's out there. I was like, wait, we started watching like a weed growers true crime documentary, right?
I mean, I would say that like one of the first things I'd probably ask about is like the Yeti or
Well,
aliens.
that damn Loch Ness monster.
Yeah,
I'd
one
ask
of
about
those.
Nessie.
So,
what
anyways,
about you, Jay? What would you ask about?
first to get into Bigfoot stuff, not a popular opinion. I hate Bigfoot stuff.
I'm
I
with
think
you,
it's-
Jay. So it's popular in this
I
group.
find
Yeah, I
the
don't care about
fact
Bigfoot at all.
I think the fact that they invest that much money and time into trying to find something that doesn't exist, insane. The amount of money that's gone into cryptozoology, like, it blows my mind because
Did I miss something that there's a lot of money getting put into cryptozoology?
have you not seen like the shows where they had like
There's
they
a
were
lot
doing
of
like
TV shows now.
they had
yeah.
like
but
all
that's
this
still,
like
personal
scientific
money.
stuff?
That's not like a bureau.
That's
like-
still money.
Those are
money that could go to
purely
something
for the
else.
sake of a TV show, though. Those aren't being produced to actually try to find Bigfoot because
I'm just saying, if
anybody-
those are actual scientists, even if like that's just what they're being paid to do, it's like, can't we use them for something more important?
I mean, they're
Like
actual
anything?
scientists in the same way that, like,
No, they're redneck weed farmers, like Joe said.
yeah.
They're the ones who like do the studies that tell you that like all the Skittles are secretly the same flavor.
And those people are wrong. But I will say, Jay, you're right, though, right? Because there are certain shows you're like, we're on Satan's Island, and we know there's going to be gold ore. Come back on season 14. You're like, okay, if you haven't fucking found gold in 14 years now, I'm pretty sure that we're just making a TV show. Like, this is just so dumb now.
So I'm not
I would
that
have
into that
asked
stuff.
about ghosts. That's what I would have asked. That's
I'm
proof
not.
life
I'm
after
not a big
death.
ghost guy either. I guess if anything, I'd
We
want to
know
know
Nick
about
is.
aliens. Aliens is the most like probable, not in, like the way that we
Yeah.
see like green like ooh type things, but there's something out there, right? Yeah.
I would have asked
something
about
going on.
Coneheads, yes.
But yeah. So that'd
Can
be
you tell me
that'd probably
about
be where my mind
Primax and
went.
Beldars, please? And remove the decal.
If all of you had any idea listening how much Joe references Coneheads, not just on the show, but just outside of the show, like such a random.
It's actually
movie.
kind of concerning.
Yeah.
I bring it up to get him to make the noise.
To get me
Makes
going,
laugh
to
every
rile me up.
Yeah.
I'm a Conehead head.
To dial it back a little bit, though, so during the tour, we also kind of meet the rest of the staff or the crew there. And that's when we officially meet the girl that we were talking about earlier. Her name's Annie, and she's like a weapons and tech expert. And then Barry, the guy, the kidnapper, is Dr. Barry Shaw, who handles like unidentifiable evidence. So those two are part of the team here.
I love this scene because it's very James Bond, right? We're like an underground bunker. It's MI6.
Yeah.
This
They
is
have a
Q.
Q.
This is M.
Yeah,
Weird
because they're not
weapons, cool
meeting.
stuff
We're not
going on.
meeting
I
them
love this.
officially. She's not walking over to them and showing you like, "Oh, this is Annie." It's like Annie, and then it's like her cut to the camera looking at it, like
Yep.
you know, like bucking up a gun or whatever. So it's like that's you
Like
know,
action sequence.
yeah, it's made to look that way. Yeah, and then she also lets it be known that if they tell anybody about this place, that they will do everything in their power to make sure nobody ever believes anything they say ever again. Which I feel like Max is already in that territory.
I was
Everyone
going to
already
say,
thinks
so
he's
nothing
crazy.
Yeah.
will change from
Yeah.
Max. But one thing about it, she says, you have 48 hours. And I just sat there, like, I was with myself. I said, why? Like,
Yeah.
She never says why they only have 48 hours or anything.
Yeah, they didn't really.
it's a move
from
of-
day one, it was a 2-day thing, and they just decided that, and it was what it was.
Yeah, I guess so.
But that doesn't come back around, Ferg. You're right. There's no point in the later on in the episode where they're like, wow, 47 and a half hours. Good thing
Yeah.
we solved this.
Yeah.
We'll get into it later, but towards the end of the episode, they addressed that 48 hours is up, and it was just like, okay then, and we'll
Yeah,
we'll
but
get
there was
into
no
it.
like counter on anything happening in 48
Right,
hours. It
yeah.
wasn't like
Well,
there's a
this wasn't
bomb
an
that'll go
episode of
off.
24. Yeah, it wasn't like, we had a timer going on here. So they go through, now that they're kind of integrated with everything going on, they go through a rundown of Agent Checker's last investigation. Agent Checker was the man who we saw in the top of the episode. So he works for Bureau Underground. And the last investigation, which was like largely based on like multiverse stuff. And Max is like, I literally wrote the book on that. And so apparently all the stuff that he had been like hypothesizing about was correct. So now we know why he's part of this, why they called for him to be in this mission, I suppose.
That's a
And-
great scene, by the way. His reaction to like being right with all of his theories after all these years, like he really sells it with his face.
Yeah, well, you
And it's
think
like-
about
it's
it, like
really
something
good
like that
acting.
is such a, all those like kind of concepts are so wild. Like even if there's any fragments of things you can believe, it's still a wild concept. So, and you never really get to fulfill that. You never get validity. Like the people who create these things never find out one way or another, right? There's no way to.
Yeah.
So like to be told like, yes, you're like all your life's work is actually correct and you're not a crazy person must be a very fulfilling moment.
That's got to be nice. I mean, man, I imagine. I mean, we all, as people who've been friends for our entire lives, have shit all over each other for one thing or another. It would be really nice to, at one point, be able to get one thing that you've been shit on for a long time and be justified in front of it.
Right. like when we eventually do Cavemen and you all realize it's a good show.
Ooh, that's not going to happen there, bud.
Yeah.
No. Episode 100.
But yeah, so this is also when we kind of see Leroy step into being the officer he was before, because he, the questions he's asking about, did you check here, here, and here? And they're like, yeah, we already covered that. So they're feeling pretty good. Like, yeah, we've already covered all that. And then he's like, all right, check his cell phone location records. And then he matched that up with like credit card sales, and then he was able to pinpoint like that he had a storage facility that they didn't know about. And he's like, did you guys know he had a storage facility? And they did not. So now they have their next place to go over to.
They're like, did you go to the storage facility? And their answer was, yup.
So they have so this is when they find out they have 48 hours, and Max is like, from now or from like when we leave. I thought that was like a little bit of a forced joke there. Like they're really playing into what his character was, but I don't know.
I know we always played better writing in this. I would have loved, especially since this is a Fox show, if they put the 48-hour ticker like 24.
Yeah.
And then when they were like, from now or from we leave, and they like paused it and then kept starting it and pausing it, I thought that would have been a good visual joke.
Yeah, that would have been a good gag. So now we get to the two of them driving and talking, and this is gonna be big. This is the scene Ferg's been dying to talk about. So Max is trying to make conversation to avoid it. Leroy turns on the radio, and it's "Higher Love" by Steve Winwood. And for those of you who don't know, Ferg loves Steve Winwood in a way that I can't understand myself, and I've known him for 35 years. But he's
Is it Winward or Winwood?
Winwood.
Winwood.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Winwood. I mean, Ferg,
As
if you
in
want to
what he
talk
gives
about
Ferg.
yes, if you want to talk about Steve Winwood a little bit, yeah, go right ahead.
Just want to bring up that Steve Winwood is playing with Steely Dan soon. If you guys want to go,
I would go to that.
But man, Steve Winwood's just one of those like artists where like you didn't know that song was him, and you go, "Oh, that's Steve Winwood," and it's like every single song is so catchy.
The
I got
proof
this
positive of
big
that
kick.
was like,
What?
I know of him and I know he has a bunch of hits. When the song played, I'm Googling now to like look it up so I can bring it up in the episode. And as soon as I saw it was him, I went, oh,
Mm-hmm.
Ferg's going to be so excited.
You didn't know that was Steve Winwood?
I know who he is. It's like I don't listen to Higher Love that often in my personal
I
time.
love
I
Back
know
in the
song.
High Life Again. Fucking Valerie. Come on.
Back in
You guys all know Valerie.
life again.
He wrote Valerie.
Yeah.
He is Valerie, actually.
It's Valerie Winwood. Steve is a stage
Oh.
name.
Is it a different Valerie from the one that Amy Winehouse recorded? Different Valerie?
I'm not
I don't
familiar
know
with
the
that song.
Amy Winehouse one.
R.I.P.
Alright.
Amy Winehouse.
Well, moving forward. Yeah.
I hope she doesn't rest in peace.
That's
Jeez, Louise.
weird.
Wow.
What is it with you? Is she your new? She's your
So
old
much
Queen
hate in
Latifah?
his heart.
There's a lot of Ferg. I hate Queen Latifah. I hope that Amy Winehouse is not resting peacefully. But give me Steve Winwood any day.
Steve Winwood brought me Valerie and Higher Love, all right? What has Amy Winehouse ever done for me?
She brought
Nothing.
Tears
She just
Dry
has
on Their
weird
Own.
movements when she sings, and that's actually why I hate her.
She has
It's 'cause
had a wonderful voice.
She had a very good voice. I don't care for her
Yes, she
music,
did.
but great voice.
Oh, really?
Now
I was a
she's
big
rotten
fan.
in hell.
I'm like, that's so weird.
Jeez, man.
Yeah, I legitimately am a big fan, but regardless. So eventually Leroy becomes fed up and pulls over and he kicks Max out of the car because Max just kept trying to talk to him and he's
But he
making
keeps
very
trying
clear
to talk to him, and he's screaming the words
Yeah,
"Higher
he's-
Love"
he's
at him
singing
every
Higher
time
Love.
he talks to him.
in an aggressive way, not trying to keep the melody or anything. He's just like basically yelling the lyrics at him. And
Is this a thing that a Ferg has done to a Max in the real life at one
Yes.
point? It feels like it would be something that happened.
Many times. But you know what? Max gave up. Well, my Max don't give up.
Your Max punched you in the face and put on the superior Michael McDonald.
So he,
How
yeah,
dare you?
So I think the triggering
forgetting,
point
baby.
was Max said that like we're partners, and I think that's what triggered him. And he's like,
Yeah.
we are not partners. And then I like the line where he's like, the yellow brick road ends here, Toto. It's a good way to kick someone out of the car.
And also a good soft rock reference
Yes.
after Winwood.
That's probably the next song that was playing after Higher
It's
Love.
probably
yeah.
the next on the mix, yeah.
Yeah.
That would be my mix. Little Africa.
So before he exits, he pleads with Leroy to let him stay. He needs this because he's lost everything. Everyone in the world thinks he's crazy, and he finally has this like glimmer of hope that all this stuff that he's been saying is actually real. So Leroy caves and he lets him stay along. And they enter the storage locker, and there's really nothing there except a few books on the ground, and one of them is Max's book. And Max immediately is like, should I sign it? Because he's like clearly a fan. And Leroy just slaps the book out of his hand, which I thought it got a laugh out of me.
I just love the joke of when somebody sells a book that nobody wants, right? Like I think of Al Gore's book being sold in The Simpsons. He puts on Celebrate because he sells one copy of the book. Like I like the idea that Max is like, oh, you're the one guy who bought my book.
Yeah,
And
I know
then
how that
Multiverse
feels.
didn't sell multi-copies, am I right?
We do it. We do have an author on this panel. Gordo, do you want to plug?
Yeah, I have a book called The Secret Shitter's Guide to Boston, Volume 1, that reviews toilets in and around Boston.
Well, I mean, you don't even sound interested in it.
What an enthusiastic
Come on.
pitch.
Give a
Yeah.
better sales pitch there, bud.
No, so all right. So I mean it's a robust romp through Boston's bathrooms where you can hear the pitter-patter of this writer's taking little tiny dukes on top of in some of the worst and best places. It's available on Amazon.
What was the
What
worst overall?
I think it was the Alewife MBTA bathroom.
Oh, been there. Wow, you're not wrong.
When the
Jesus.
toilet paper
Yeah.
is chained to the
Yeah.
wall, that's a bad sign.
By the way, I bought the book and Amazon didn't pay Gordo, so Bezos, pay my boy, bitch.
Yeah. Amazon doesn't do that, and they got rid of their self-publishing platform.
Oh, really?
So yes,
That's
they
weird.
did.
That seems like
they're
a
doing
strange
away
move.
with it. It
Oh,
was
that's
under
unfortunate.
it was under Create Space.
Yeah, I know. Like many people have actually taken advantage of that. That's
Yeah.
an unfortunate. Someone
Yeah.
else will rise though. Like with that happening, someone else will take over, but you won't have the same distribution availability, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, LightScribe I think is the new one, and I think it does have integration, and I believe that's Barnes and Nobles.
Okay, so that's at least widespread.
Yeah, it's in Barnes and Nobles, so I mean, or it's at least orderable to a
Right.
Barnes and Noble, which, maybe if I ever get around to writing part Duke,
Waiting for it. I knew you were gonna have a fucking shitty reference.
you know
there.
what it's going to be called,
You know what?
right?
It's already written itself. Volume 2 for number 2.
No, no,
Part
it's literally-
Deuce.
No,
Part
no,
Deuce.
Yeah, Part Deuce is good.
No, it's going to be called The Secret Shitter's Guide to Boston, Volume 2, Electric Poogaloo.
Oh, I hate that so much. Why don't you call it Volume 2 Ply?
All these things are
Electric
better than yours,
Poogaloo.
Gordo.
Yeah. Well, we'll,
I'm
all
the
right.
author.
We'll discuss Gordo's second poo book off air, and we'll update you guys as we have more information. But
Will
to get
we,
back,
though?
well, we'll see. But to get back into this, we are back in the storage locker, and he sees a message on the wall that says, "Are you in the dark?" So immediately, Leroy shuts the gate to the storage locker, and it reveals this like
This was dumb.
black
I
light
agree.
blueprint to like a power plant. And Max is still distracted despite seeing this extravagant thing, and he's still just trying to sign the book. But yeah, no,
Love that.
you didn't like this. You didn't
No,
like
this is such a. That was like a really lazy writing right there. Like they could have gone about finding that a million different ways. And then the "Are you in the dark?" Everybody knows what the fuck that means. It's there to hide it, right? Do
Yeah.
a better job than that.
What if
hated
somebody opened the place at night? It wouldn't have been hidden. Because it would have already been
yeah,
done.
right. There's
Yeah,
just
that
none of
only
that.
works from sun up to
I
sundown.
thought that was
It's not the
super,
most,
super lazy.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, so like a show like this, right, where it's grounded in comedy first. Like I try to not overthink something like that. If this was a more serious show, I would pick that apart more probably. But yeah, here I guess I just didn't think about it. But I see where you're coming from. They could have went about how they discovered this blueprint a million different ways. It didn't have to
Right.
be a black light.
I think
But
it
they-
should
they
have
probably
needed
liked the
an
visual.
actual black light. And they come back with one or something like that. But
They could have,
because
yeah, they
it's
could have
just-
found something. Like they wanted the visual, but they could have went about it a different way to find a way to get there for sure.
Or have them not figure it out and then get trapped in there and then have to be there and like
And
be
then
all
just
scared.
hours later after being stuck in there, it eventually pops up.
Yeah.
As somebody who's been trapped inside of garages for many hours at a time, that is a horror movie.
So then they go back to they get back in the car and they're talking to Captain Laffrey again, and they discovered that Checker was working there, like undercover, the place that this is a map to. And now they need to go inside of this reactor to find out what he was actually doing there. So to get in there, they have this like extremely high tech, like programming thing where they basically hacked in to create a paper jam in the printer. That was their way in. And it was like really goofy.
Did they have Joe run a quarter through it?
I was just gonna say they put a shopping bag through the printer. They just snuck in.
Again, go to S1E1 Pod on Instagram if you want to hear another weird Joe story involving him and paper shredders. But
I've also weirdly been obsessed with like nuclear power plants ever since I was a kid. So like if somebody offered me the opportunity to sneak into one and then to shove a shopping bag through a printer, that'd be like a double dream for me.
Yeah. So I thought this was funny because like it's all this crazy high tech stuff that just leads to a planned paper jam so that they have a reason to go in and disguise themselves as paper printer repairmen. But like, what did you guys think of this technique to get them into the building?
I thought it was kitschy enough for the show. I think it fit the show.
Not only that, though, it made me think because every printer jams all the time. Is there a secret government agency jamming up my friggin' printers?
Yeah. You know what I actually like too that they do like at this point, all throughout the episode, really, like during the comedic moments, they use very serious sound effects and music behind everything at all times, like to kind of keep you in the mood of like what the show would normally be if it wasn't a comedy. So they're doing all this stuff and they're showing all this crazy technology, and it just is to create this paper jam. But I think that builds to the effect.
Yeah, it's not a serious show. So they didn't need to do something like super serious.
You know what it kind of reminded me of is the what is it, the Tanetta trilogy? Just those scenes where like when
Tanetta, the songwriter on YouTube.
No,
the one who's performing Yummy Yummy Pizza.
No,
I don't know what any of you are talking about.
I will show you later, Joe. You'll love it.
I was talking about like Shaun of the Dead and like Hot Fuzz. Those transition scenes where like it's super serious, but
I can see that. Yeah,
like when he goes.
But I meant Cornetto trilogy, and I said Tanetta.
Joe, I can't wait to show you Tanetta.
Oh, Joe's gonna hate it.
You are gonna hate it.
You'll like it.
Actually, Joe will like it.
We'll go over it later.
As opposed to Hot Fuzz, which does have the greatest James Bond of all time in it.
So, in any event,
Timothy Dalton.
Yes, sir.
So when they enter, they're greeted by a woman named Deb, who's played by Sarah Baker, and she's also someone who's been in a million different things.
And The Office.
Oh, right. I forgot she was in The Office.
She's the nurse when Pam and Jim have their baby.
Yep, you're right. I know her as Mitzi Huggins.
I remember her, but I did not. That's not what I remembered her as. Yeah.
Did you guys see the movie The Campaign with Zach Galifianakis and Will Ferrell?
I don't think I have. No.
It's so funny, but she played Zach Galifianakis' wife in it. It's worth checking out when you guys have some time. It's funny.
Oh, what's his name in it? I remember Huggins, but
I can't remember now. I can't remember his first name. But yeah, so she wants to fix it herself in the future because she says this thing jams up all the time, and they're trying to get away. They're trying to figure out how to get her out of there because they're not actually there to fix the printer and they don't know how. And I do like that. If you notice their polos, it said they worked for a company called Copy Bureau. Like that's like such a terrible name. Like it's just not that's not what they would name a company like that at all. It sounds like a fake government agency cover up.
Yeah, no, it does. It does.
I just love that they could have said something like, "Oh, it's actually pretty technical. It's something you can't do on your own,
or you need like a special tool for it, or
yeah." But they like panic. But Max earlier insisted that because he took improv in college, that he's got this. And I like as soon as they even talk to him, he's just like, "I'm gonna set my tools down," and he's like puts them down very awkwardly.
Yeah,
like
that's very Adam Scott-esque. That whole scene right there was very like what he excels at.
But yeah, so neither of them actually know how to fix this. So now they're going back and forth, both trying to pitch that they're the boss, so that they have to make the other one do it. And then eventually Max just slaps Leroy in the face.
Yeah.
And he did it a couple times.
Leroy's reaction after the first one, though, when she tries to leave and he goes, "No, you need to see this." He goes, "Why?" I started dying laughing because there was no reason to call it back.
Yeah.
It was so good.
But yeah, eventually this makes her super uncomfortable with all the slapping, so she leaves. The plan, I guess, actually works out.
Yeah, it works, I guess.
And then he's like, end scene. But then Leroy goes up to him and he's like, watch your face. So now they go to explore the inside of this plant and they find the thing. It looks like the thing that was on the top of the roof from the beginning of the episode, like this glowing thing. They go to take a picture of it. And then like as he holds the phone up, you're looking through the perspective of the phone's like camera. And you see this big, bald, bearded man appears. And he just says like, you're not supposed to be here.
By the way, you know how much I watch horror movies? I jumped so high on that.
Yeah.
Not expecting a
It was
jump scare.
unexpected.
Yeah.
The voice they used was so weird. Like the tone that they altered his voice, he almost sounded like just like a bad guy from a Power Rangers episode. Like it was just like a weird voice that they used.
Or the putties.
Yeah, but I like Leroy just goes, "You right," and they just run off.
Yeah.
And then so then they're talking to Annie from Bureau Underground, and they're on the phone trying to find a way to navigate out because now he's chasing them around. And
He's
she's
shooting
like,
them too, right?
yeah, eventually.
Yeah.
But at this point, she's like, "Yep, everything's gonna be fine, probably." And and then he starts shooting, and Annie's still trying to navigate and help them out. And he's just Max is going, "They have guns, and we are very frightened. We are very frightened."
Yeah.
You're very, very frightened. It's so earnest.
Yeah. And then she eventually is able to like hack a door to like unlock it so they can get out, and they safely exit. I thought they kind of abruptly ended that scene because it was just like the door's unlocked, they walk out, and like there's no follow up. Like the bad guy is like trapped, like it's a video game. Like he can't exit through the door or anything. They just walk out and now they're fine. But
Yeah,
you know,
I
it's
mean,
whatever.
I think because there's a lot to pack in this episode.
Yeah.
And again, we don't know what goes on in future episodes, but I mean, I imagine that they need to move the plot along if it's going to be that
Right.
Because this is a heavy,
A lot of
dense
things
show.
happen in this show just to keep the plot going. by the
Right.
way.
But that's
Oh,
what
okay.
a lot does too. Like there are certain shows we talk about. I want to say that Married with Children's probably the king of it so far, where like I usually don't have to pause that much to write down what's happening or lines I think are really funny. But this one, there's so much. It's so dense. There's a lot of stuff going on. A lot of it's really funny. Where I was surprised after watching it. I was like, how long was that episode? I felt like it was a movie.
It takes me so long because I write pretty long notes to be able to keep the episode and remember the order everything happens in. And to get through this episode and have as much detail written down as I wanted took me forever. Because every scene, there's just a lot going on, a lot of quick lines. It took quite a bit. But from there we get back to Bureau Underground, and Max is now like kind of showing his professor skills a little bit. We see like him using a marker to write on this large piece of glass, and he realizes there must be a second coil. So the thing we saw earlier was some sort of a coil like that sends and receives energy.
A magnetic coil, I believe they say, right?
So he's under the understanding that the one that they saw is just one of two, which would mean that the one we saw at the beginning of the episode on the roof is probably the second one, unless that one got moved. But if you're tracking from the beginning, that would all make sense. So right here, when this happens, Dr. Shaw walks in and asks if they need anything because he's like, "Oh, it's probably been really rough on you guys with everything that just happened." And Leroy asks for a PB&J, no crust, extra J, no PB.
So jelly sandwich.
He just asked for a jelly sandwich,
A crustless jelly sandwich.
and I figured this would be a fun point. What do you guys mess with peanut butter and jelly, and what's your approach? Do you guys use fluff? Do you use grape, strawberry?
jelly.
So I love. I hate the Welch's jelly and stuff like that. I would love like a preserve or a jam or something like that with like actual fruit in it. I love just a regular peanut butter and jelly. But if I have to add something, I love adding banana to it. Sliced banana in a PB&J is amazing.
I like strawberry jam
Grounds.
and chunky peanut butter. And I am pro crust.
Chunky all day, yeah.
Yeah, chunky for sure.
I never buy chunky.
Just to stick up for him, by the way, he orders it weird because that's embarrassing. But it's like when I order, I don't like broccoli, so I have to say like I'll have chicken broccoli and ziti. Hold the broccoli, and it's
They think you're fucking with them. They never think you're
Yeah.
actually making an order.
yeah.
But that, I mean,
look every time.
even on Scrubs, isn't JD's drink apple teeny hold the teeny? He just
Oh, I
gets
think
like
so,
apple,
yeah.
like whatever in a glass.
All right,
Yeah, because they
so
always make the apple teeny joke.
So Nick,
I forget
you
who
are,
it was. Somebody who was friends with us one time went to McDonald's in the drive-thru and was like, "Do you guys have grilled cheese?" And they were like, "No." They're like, "Can you make me a grilled cheese?" And they're like, "Okay." And they just gave him a burger but didn't put a patty in it, and it was like the funniest thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
I don't think that was any of us.
That was somebody we know. This was Winthrop, but I can't remember who.
So to recap, as we tangent off of a tangent, Nick, you are a peanut butter and jelly, sometimes with banana guy. Standard grape jelly.
I'd prefer not grape jelly. I would like what Joe did, like a strawberry preserve or something like that.
So all right, Joe, you're strawberry chunky peanut butter.
With
Gordo,
crust.
you also do chunky. What do you do? What's your jelly situation?
I don't mind a Concord grape jelly. I'm not a big preserve guy. So I mean, I'm just a standard. Mostly, I only eat the PB&J after,
After you twist your mustache.
I ate
this
two
is
of
not
them
a
today.
this is not a video podcast, Gordo.
He is twirling
Oh.
his. Now he's twirling his mustache, but originally he was insinuating
I was smoking a doobie.
Yeah.
It's really good
Ah.
after
Oh, I
a
thought you were
doobie.
sucking a Smurf's dick.
No,
Ferg,
that's a
the two are not mutually
representation of
exclusive.
yours.
Ferg, what's your peanut butter and jelly
Oh.
style?
The peanut butter has to be Jif, and I like
Because you're a
the
choosy mom.
crunchy kind, and it's gonna be grape jelly. I don't like strawberry jelly at all.
I'm not a big grape jelly guy, so I'm peanut butter jelly. Pretty I think I'm the only guy who gets creamy peanut butter, but usually Skippy peanut butter, and then strawberry jelly or jam.
To be
preferably
fair,
a
like,
jam.
For me, that came with age. I only liked smooth when I was younger, and when I got older, I liked peanuts a
Yeah.
lot more. So
I'm sure I
like
would
the
like
chunky
it.
now.
I would
just
never
don't buy
turn
it.
down a grape jelly and smooth peanut butter with peanut butter and jelly, though. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not like,
Yeah.
ugh, gross. Like,
Oh,
it's
yeah,
just
for
like
sure.
a preference thing, you know?
Other thing. Do you
Does
guys?
anyone mess with fluff though? No one messes with
Oh,
fluff.
I do.
I
I,
don't
do
like it.
It's
occasionally.
just so unhealthy.
Sometimes.
Like, it's just
Yeah,
so
really
bad for you. It's gross.
They have the Fluff Festival that used to be right down the street from my old house. They've had it for like 100 years.
Yeah,
or
because
whatever.
it's a
I never would
regional
go.
item. Fluff. That's a local.
Yeah.
That's a
I
local
used to
boy
put
thing.
fluff in my what's it called? Hot
Hot chocolate?
chocolates.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big hot chocolate thing. Because basically, right, it's just marshmallow.
Is fluff? I know fluff is a regional thing as far as creation, but is that pretty popular countrywide?
I
Do
think
I
I
know
think
that?
so, but I don't know.
Yeah, do people know? So just in case, because I honestly don't know.
Nutter.
For those of you listening, yeah, outside, fluff or nutter, just fluff as we
Fluff
typically would
is-
call it.
Uh,
It's just marshmallow spread that you could
Yeah,
put
it's
in your
just
sandwich.
marshmallow.
And if you make a peanut butter and fluff sandwich, which I loved as a kid, in retrospect, is the driest sandwich you could possibly
I
eat.
want one now. I'm
yeah,
It's
no,
so
me too.
Wicked
it's so
bad.
dry.
gonna buy some fluff tomorrow.
But as a kid,
No.
when you have the option, like, wait, instead of jelly, I can just have marshmallows all over my sandwich with peanut
so the
butter.
weird
Like,
thing
yeah.
about fluff is it is in other countries. It is in Japan, Canada, Israel, Russia, Germany. But in
Wow,
the U.S.,
okay.
it is only in the Northeast.
Really?
So you can get it in other countries, but it's tough to get elsewhere. And the North,
We're so
and
worldly.
even considering how many countries it's in, New England accounts for half of fluff sales nation
makes
or
sense.
globally.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. Now, when you guys make a
really
peanut
cool.
butter and jelly sandwich, do you guys put peanut butter on both sides and then the jelly?
No, you
like the
peanut
Bill
butter on
Belichick
one
way?
side, jelly on the
one
other.
and one, buddy. One and
you
one.
only
yeah.
need to do that if you're a fluff guy. You need to put the fluff over the peanut butter because the fluff will rip up your bread.
And you
So you
also
That's how you have to do that.
you
Also,
have to
there's
do
no way to not get peanut butter in the whole jar of fluff.
That's why you do jelly first, because jelly, it would be harder to get peanut butter out of jelly than it would be to get jelly out of peanut butter. So you have to go jelly first.
How do you guys feel about like that goober stuff where it's peanut butter and jelly in the same thing?
It's not enough jelly.
I don't like that.
No,
I
it
feel
tastes
like
the peanut butter and it tasted like ass.
I don't think I've had it
What are
since
you
I
even
was like a
talking
small
about?
child.
It's like the
Remember
swirl
it was like
mixed
striped?
already.
It was. I don't know if that exists anymore.
It's
to be
peanut butter and
honest.
jelly in the same jar, swirled.
Oh,
It's-
that's
It
it's
definitely
existed
still
since
exists, though.
It's existed since we were small children. I'm sorry.
Oh, but is that still a thing?
find it
Because I haven't
unnecessary.
seen it in a long
I've
time.
definitely seen it.
I don't look for
Oh,
it,
I haven't seen
so
it,
I mean,
no.
I couldn't tell you for sure. But yeah,
I
that's
don't
our
want a
20
jelly
minute
Is that
talk
what it's
about
called?
peanut butter
it's
and
called,
jelly.
It's called goober.
Yeah, it's goober, right?
It's called goober.
Like I don't
Who's
know.
Goober?
Goober.
Who's goober?
Yeah.
Anyway,
So
that wrapped
so
up
we can
nicely.
we can easily chop that out and just make a half hour.
All right,
episode
but
on
real
peanut
quick,
butter
have
and
you guys
jelly, but yeah.
ever toasted your peanut butter and jelly?
I've had it on
Made it
toast, but I
on
never
toast.
toasted with inside.
I would put strawberry jam on toast, but
Yeah, that's where I was really good.
but yeah, I
the thing I've
wouldn't.
done is I put peanut butter on a bagel, but
Oh, I love that. That's great.
That's a good
Peanut butter
one.
on an English muffin, a hot English muffin, is unbelievable.
Mm.
I would
Some
usually,
nooks and crannies out of
crannies.
this combo.
That's when I get into almond butter territory, as if it's like an English muffin or something
Like
that.
Gabe.
You know, my problem with almond
What are the
butter is
chances
it's too
they have
like
any
watery. That's my only
Yeah.
issue with it.
Yeah, you have to like stir it for 8 minutes and like you like hurt your forearm before you eat it every single time. It's not like you do it once and then it's good. You have to do it every single time you eat
Yeah,
it.
there's like a reactivation period.
Yeah, because if you
Well,
if
if
you
you-
ever like use all the oil up top, then you just have concrete that you have to eat for the rest of the jar.
Try concrete.
I was gonna say, if you get really good peanut butter, like fresh peanut butter, same thing.
Like Teddy,
Like-
yeah.
Yeah, you have to refrigerate that too.
So, anyways, we probably really should move on from the peanut butter and jelly talk at this point. But in my head, this would be a 1-minute clip, and now it's literally impossible to clip into anything because it's so long. But yeah. So anyway, so the next scene, they're parked in the car at the plant, and Max is
Joe.
explaining the multiverse to Leroy, and he tells him how there's another universe with all of the same people, but in like in a different universe, the two of them might not know each other. And his instant reaction, Leroy's, is just asking about Kevin Spacey. He's like, yeah, there would be another Kevin Spacey. That's a good example. And then he goes, we probably got the best one. And then like, and then even, in my
So
notes, I just
funny.
wrote, So
They
This
could have
did not
picked, but
hold
like
up
they
well.
picked just like a funny actor, and the one, I mean, like unfortunately, there's a lot of people they could have picked, right? Like it's probably, I mean, they could have said we got the best Harvey Weinstein or the best Bill
Yeah.
Cosby, right? Like it'd be bad either way. But, like I feel like you would have gone with somebody just tried and true and safer and long dead just to
Yeah.
make sure.
You know what it was? Is
Someone who's
this
safe.
was the prime of House of Cards. Like that show was huge then.
Yeah,
well, but that's not even
but they're
why
only making usual suspect jokes though, because they keep just
Yeah, I was
yelling
gonna
at Kaiser
say,
Soze.
yeah, he just keeps saying Kaiser Soze over and over and over again. He just keeps saying it, and it's not even like it doesn't fit. He just keeps saying it to himself. He just keeps going Kaiser Soze, Kaiser
Imagine
Soze.
Can you
Imagine if
imagine
they
we
just picked a
actually do
different
have the
actor
best
from
one?
that. I think we got the best Gabriel Byrne.
But what
It's
if
just-
what if we have the best Kevin Spacey because all the other ones?
Oh,
are
no,
way
that's
Oh my
worse.
god, imagine this is the best one.
I just can't. It's just so funny again to think that like this Kevin Spacey can't be any better than he is in this universe, and it's like, ooh boy. I would say we probably
Maybe
have
that's why we got one season.
we probably have the best Adam Scott. Adam Scott seems like such a nice dude.
Yeah.
Please
Like-
don't say that, because I feel like anybody you say it about, you're gonna curse.
Jinx like see what happens in a couple weeks.
There's someone reviewing our show and like, ooh, this doesn't hold up well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then, so finally he asks Max about his wife and the night that she disappeared. And it turns out that right before her abduction, the two of them had got in a giant fight and she was packing. So he's like, oh, so she just left you. And he's like, no, people do all kinds of weird things before they get abducted. Like, like you could just be riding a bike or packing. And then that's when he handcuffs him to the steering wheel and he's like, okay, now I know you're crazy. So you're staying in the car because you're certifiably nuts and you might get me killed. And before he exits, he has to come back to the car real quick for like this little comedic button where he needs to get his Fitbit because he's tracking his steps.
That's
And
right,
Fitbits, I
baby.
think, were a lot
Fitbit
more-
all day.
So I was just about to say Fitbits aren't nearly as popular today as they even were like a few years ago. A few years ago, like I felt like everybody I knew was doing Fitbit challenges, and now it's just everyone just does the Peloton.
As it stands
Joe
right
has
now,
one because he's 10 years in the past.
That is true. Joe thinks they just came out.
my last one died while we were moving a few months ago, and I had so many steps that day, and it died in the middle of it, and I was heartbroken. And the next day, I went out and spent $120 on a new one because I couldn't handle that it was gone.
Get an iWatch.
I was gonna say, even just
No,
your
the
regular
iWatch is too
phone,
big. That's why I like the Fitbit. It's not huge.
but
And
your
right now,
phone
currently, I'm at
in your pocket tracks your steps all day.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
not as good as the Fitbit.
Do you
It's
ever
not as
compare?
accurate.
Like, actually, out of curiosity, do you ever side by side them at the end of the day to see like one way or the
I
other?
do, yeah, because this tracks your actual like beats and stuff when you're working out. So if you put it
Yep.
in like I'm working out mode when I do like my workouts and stuff, it gives you all the information because it can tell your heartbeat and everything, your pulse. But as of right now, I'm at 14,603 steps for the day.
Oh, look at you. I
That's
envision
impressive
your-
working from home.
Yeah.
And for how many hours I work.
How many trips to the fridge, Joe?
There's a lot of going to get water, going to pee, and then a lot of me doing this. There's a lot of things I call cheater steps, which is like you get really mad about your day and you're like,
I walked around the city today and only got 7,400 in.
So I double what you did, and I had
Yeah.
been. Well, I walked to get coffee at one point, and now that I moved to the sticks, walking to get coffee takes over an hour.
Yeah,
It's
Say,
the
did
whole
you
trip,
walk
so
to
that does-
Vermont for coffee?
Yeah, it's about 25 minutes there and 25 minutes back, so that adds
Get
a
a
lot to the
horse.
step count.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, you went for a nearly an hour long walk. So yeah,
right.
that
So at that
definitely
point, I mean, that
changes
was
things,
probably
yeah.
6,000 or 7,000 steps.
So, but yeah,
Your
now it's just.
coffee.
I feel like now it's just everyone has a Peloton, and then like in a few years, people
Who was a
won't.
Peloton?
Everyone.
Yeah, I don't have a Peloton.
I don't know
have a
anybody who
Peloton.
has one.
They are
I know a
so
lot of people.
expensive.
I was talking to
Yeah,
people at
this
work
is
today
so
who were talking about their
expensive.
Pelotons. It is a thing.
I have an exercise
I know
bike,
it's
and
a-
I use it every morning. I ride for at least an hour, and I bought it from Amazon, and it cost like $112, and it's going to kill me when it folds in on me one day, but I still will never be able to afford a Peloton.
Can you leave your camera on for when that happens?
I should just start making workout videos. I could be the new Richard Simmons.
So anyway, so as Leroy's walking off, as soon as he kind of gets away from the car gets blasted. That same Ghostbusters like blast, and it's kind of like now within a force field, and the car starts raising up, and then as we see Leroy inside the building investigating around with a flashlight, one of Joe's favorite tools, the flashlight.
So sexual.
Yes. We see the force field is kind of lifted out of nowhere, and the car just drops down to the ground, and that noise is what causes Leroy to run back outside.
I feel like this scene was very much a nod to Repo Man. The way they had the car lit up and into the air like that. Like it wasn't flying, but it was just sort of floating and like illuminated like that. That was very the last scene of Repo Man.
I thought you meant the wrestler at first.
Yes.
Repo Man.
Barry Dorso, yeah. It was a tribute to Barry Dorso.
That
I
scene was
picked
very
up on it
Blacktop
right away,
Bully.
but-
Yeah. And then so now Max is pretty mad at Leroy because he's like, I could have got killed, because you handcuffed me to the car when all this happened. So now he's like, okay, so now let's talk about, how you got fired from the LAPD, because he had brought up his wife earlier, and apparently he got killed because he made a bad call. And that was for him to go in without backup, and his partner got shot because the two of them went in without backup. And the one thing I didn't like was his reaction was like, because he was like, "Is that what you wanted to hear?" And he's like, "Well, not really." Like I felt like that scene, the balance of serious and comedy there wasn't there, and I have noticed that throughout this episode a little bit in general with the writing, is they lean very hard on the funny, but they don't know how to balance anything serious with it. It needs constant. It's a very goofy show.
I feel the same. This scene, it seemed like it was a little awkward.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a big matzo ball hanging out there once he said it's not really what I wanted. Like nobody knew what to sort of do with it.
Yeah. And but he also explains that's why he locked him in the car. So cuz he didn't want him to get killed. He didn't want someone else to die under his decisions again. So
Did you guys figure that out? Not that like the partner died or anything like that, but that he cuffed him to protect him.
no, not at that point. I
I-
figured it was legitimately, you're a crazy person. I don't want you to get me killed. I thought that was
Yeah, me
plausible
too.
at that point.
I thought that because of the goofy nature of the show, like
Yeah, I didn't
if
think
they
much
do
into it.
something straight, that's probably the reason why they're doing it. Like I don't think there's much nuance to
So
it.
by then I figured because he was a cop, he cuffed him to protect him because at that point he knows his danger because they've already been shot at.
I just thought he was a danger to himself when he realized that he still believes that his wife was abducted when it just sounds like she packed up and moved after a fight.
Mm.
So he's like, this is just, he's not in touch with reality, and like I can't have him be the reason I get killed. So I thought I took it for face value at that point, but apparently it wasn't. Apparently it was a callback to what happened to him earlier in his police days, and this causes them to hug. More like Max wants to hug more than Leroy wants to be part of it, but they do hug. That is what causes Max to be able to see the beam going around the building, because when he positioned in, he could see the light flying around the windows. And from that point, they go up to the door, and Leroy suggests that Max picks him up so he can see through the vent which, obviously due to size discrepancy. Again, if you don't know Adam Scott and Craig Robinson, they are obviously very, very different sizes. And Craig Robinson, who plays Leroy, is 3 times the size of Adam Scott. So I like the way he played that, though, because he suggested it very honestly. And then when Max gets uncomfortable, he's like, no, I'm just joking. Like,
that was
he
good,
did it to make him nervous. So then, you know.
See, that was played much better than the hugs.
Yeah, that was done pretty well. And when Leroy picks him up, Leroy picks Max up now instead so he can look through that vent. And they see Checker, the agent, inside. He's kind of like laying on like kind of examination table, and he's without clothes except for like, his privates are covered with like a towel. We see that guy again, the big bearded guy from earlier is like the guy in the room with them, and he just puts his hands to his head and lifts his head off of his body and like places it down on a side table.
Yeah.
But to go back to what I said earlier, about how like this show is a lot of stuff that is just for the sake of moving the plot forward. This is one of like the main examples. He has no reason to take his head off. He never does anything with his head being off. He just walked in the other room. There was literally no reason other than for them to see it and have a reason to.
Yeah, it was to just be like, look at this weird thing that happened. But yeah, it wasn't like he needed to take his head off to do something else. Yeah,
like I expected like an alien head to come up out of the hole and be like, oh.
Yeah.
Right, like a Men in Black scenario or something. I wanted Tony Shalhoub to be driving his neck hole.
Yeah, like he should have taken his head off, and then it was a way to like turn your neck into a flashlight or something, to then so it was like
flashlight.
So there's like a practicality behind it. But yeah, you make a really good point there.
So when his vibrating flashlight neck started going on.
Yeah, so for those of you who have no idea what's going on, Joe has a weird asphyxiation with flashlights, and you can listen into the archives. I think it first came up in our Third Rock from the Sun episode. So if you want to go back and listen to that, you can hear about all this weird stuff that goes on in Joe's brain, because some of these callbacks might not translate if you're just catching into us like right around now or the last few episodes, but Joe has a weird flashlight thing. Yeah.
Explore the insanity of the 5 of us talking for the past year.
Yeah. Yeah, you'll catch some gems in there episode. So please, again, if you are new to us, go back and listen to old episodes. The format of the show lends itself to being evergreen, so you can, listen to anything you want whenever you want. It doesn't really matter when.
Go back and listen to Mama's Family just because that show rules. Not our episode, just the show in general.
Yeah.
What, listen to an episode of Mama's Family?
Yeah.
I would do it, Skeeter.
So anyways, when Max comes back down to the ground, he's telling Leroy what happened, and Leroy's like, did you smoke when you were in the car? With like, how high are you right now? So now actually Max does lift Leroy up so he can look through, and I liked at first he's like really struggling to do it, and he's trying to get under him, and you can see like from the vent, from the perspective inside the building, you just see like a little bit of his hair popping up a couple times because he can't quite get him.
that was good. Yeah.
He can't get him quite high enough so he can look through it, but eventually he does, and he sees the head laying on the table there.
It works so well because Craig Robinson has tall hair. Like having tall hair lends that to being such a funnier joke,
It's dense like bread.
And so now the plan is for them to go in, and one of them has to grab the head so the other can rescue Checker, which, like, again, when we talk about, Ferg talking about certain things just being for the plot, the body was out of the room. You could just go rescue Checker. You don't have to steal the head. It doesn't really lend itself to helping the plan, but
the Wilhelm scream was a bit much.
Yeah, well, actually, I
made
loved
it. That's my favorite scene of the whole episode.
I loved
when
it.
it's because of their reaction.
So
Can we
before
make a
that,
petition
though,
now, though, to maybe record some new Wilhelm scream type noises? Because you hear the same 5 or whatever. Like, the first thing I tracked was like, okay, here we go.
But to go back before we even get to that point, I like how it was done, because as they were discussing this plan, there's a point where Leroy's trying to basically use kind of like reverse psychology to get Max to be the one who pick up the head because he doesn't want to do it. And he's like, oh, so you're scared of heads. That's fine. He's like, I understand. Like, everyone's scared of something. I'm scared of ducks. And then he's trying to ask him, he's like, I don't even talk about it. I don't even want to talk about it. I don't even talk about it. So they just kind of get into it.
Mallard.
So I really liked
ducks are assholes.
I really liked his way of sneaking, by using reverse psychology to get Max to agree to be the one to grab the head. But as far as the ducks, do any of you guys have what I guess you would consider a irrational fear of something?
I know Joe's.
No.
You gonna say cantaloupe?
Yes. Yeah. Cantaloupe. Your
time
fear
that I
of cantaloupe
hummed an
is
entire
the weirdest
cantaloupe
shit.
at your mom, Jay.
Yeah. So years ago, so Joe does not like cantaloupe. He does not like to touch cantaloupe. They give him the heebie-jeebies. So my mom, we all grew up together. We've all been friends at this point for like 30 years. We're all 35, 36 years old at this point. So we're all in my living room, and my mom walks up to Joe, and she's like, Joe, can you hold this for me? Because she's aware of this, and just hands Joe a whole cantaloupe. In which Joe just jumps, and I don't know, did you throw it?
I Roger Clemens it at her and then felt so bad because it was like an immediate reaction was just to rip it out of my hands, and I was like, I'm so sorry.
You also puked on a rug 10 minutes after they put it down.
It's like cats when they're afraid of cucumbers.
Yeah.
Joe,
Yeah.
I was going to say, I wouldn't say I have an irrational fear of pickles, but I hate pickles.
No, I've seen you like
disgusted by
move away from pickles. You're afraid of pickles.
them. I wouldn't say I'm afraid of them. I'm disgusted
I don't know,
by
I'm just
them.
saying, that's the way it looks.
Like if I go to like a diner and they give me like a pickle wedge with my sandwich, which I don't understand why people do that because it's disgusting, but whatever. I will pick it up and be like, does someone want this? Like I can physically
hold
touch it
it
if I have to. Like I don't want to, but like in that moment, especially if it's like a crispier one, I can get away with it. If it's like super mushy, I'm not touching it.
Now, do you have the same aversion to cucumber?
No, I like cucumbers. That's the thing.
Interesting. So it's a Brian scenario.
So yeah, my argument's always been I like cucumbers, but I've never ate one and went, you know what I'd rather do? Put this in a jar of vinegar and eat it in like a month. Like that's never dawned on me.
What about fried pickles?
Nah. I tried
Fried
one
pickles are
like
great.
once.
I think you're missing out. I think you have just avoided them for so long. I bet there are ones out there. That's the thing about pickles.
You
like,
say that to me with vegetables, and that's
yeah,
always
but you're a
lie
bitch.
every
It's
time.
a different story. Like what the difference is like there's
All
so many
vegetables is
different
more
types of
encompassing.
pickles.
Yeah, I don't like the mushiness, but I also don't like a strong vinegar taste.
I
So
don't
like
either.
everything about
I like
pickles,
I hate vinegar.
yeah, everything that
I like
happens
vinegar,
with
I
pickles
hate
doesn't make
pickles.
sense to me. But for you to hate all vegetables, like they don't all taste the same. So
Of course,
to
you
me,
eat
They
just
all
eat
have
potatoes.
great
vegetables.
consistency.
You eat potatoes.
It's not a vegetable.
It's a
Yes,
root.
it is.
It's
It's a
a
root.
root.
It's a root
It's a root
vegetable.
It's a vegetable.
It's a tuber.
But,
now, do you put,
as far as an
a
actual
tomato,
fear-
or I haven't seen you eating in a while, Ferg. Do you put like if you have a burger, like nothing, no lettuce, no tomato?
No, neither.
Okay.
Just cheese and bacon.
I go pickle, onion, ketchup, mayo. I had a Five Guys burger today. It was delicious.
Great.
I like mushrooms on my burger.
I don't like
Yes.
that.
I like mushrooms. No, but as far as fears, anyone have any? I guess it doesn't have to be irrational, man. Any, but I guess irrational would be the way to say it.
I've always had a fear, and I found out recently that it's a phobia. It's called Thalassophobia, and it's like large objects, like under the water. Like if a boat sunk, right, and we live in Winthrop, like you can see a small sunken boat every now and again. You couldn't give me enough money to get in the water near that, even though it's just an inanimate object. I hate large things underwater.
What about like if it was a large rock, like something that's
no,
kind of
I hate that too. Yeah, like if you're in like a
Really?
lake in New Hampshire and there's a rock there, like let's go stand on the rock. I'm like, I'm gonna stay on the beach. Fuck that.
So Nick does not want to come with us to our podcast vacation to Hawaii
rock
to
in the
go
lake.
visit Pearl Harbor.
Oh yeah, no, like the what is that? The Arizona? No thanks.
Yeah.
No thanks.
I have a fear of heights.
Yeah, I don't like
even
heights
though-
either.
Even though I will do roller coasters and stuff, if I watch like an Instagram video or YouTube video where like someone is teetering over the side or they're putting their phone like over the side of a cliff, it makes my skin crawl.
Yeah.
It absolutely makes my skin crawl.
Yeah, like you'll get on. I can't even get on the rides. I can't bring myself to doing it.
I can't
just
either,
can't.
yeah. I will say,
You
Gordo,
fly all
with
the
you,
time.
there's always these videos, and I believe they're usually Russian or like Eastern European, where it's like these dudes climb up on.
Yeah,
these
dude.
giant
There was one of them. One of
structures.
those dudes died.
I'm not
Shocking.
surprised. Like trying to do pull-ups off those things, those
Yeah.
videos. I've watched enough of those one day where I just didn't sleep. Like I just couldn't go to bed. I was too freaked out about everything.
Because those things are weird. Because there's a moment where it's like, it's a fun video as far as like it's gonna get a lot of attention, but what's the risk versus reward? Do you really need that adrenaline? Like you need that to feel like something in your life? Like that's
Not
the
me.
only way you feel
That's
alive?
what I think. Honestly, there's a guy on YouTube, and his name is called, it's the channel name is Adrenaline Addiction. And this dude goes around the world and jumps off like the tallest, sketchiest shit you can think of. Like he free jumps like into water, or like he'll jump off of the side of a cliff. Oh, he got a wingsuit recently. He's like, I've never really used one of these before, so we'll see what happens. I was like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, and like the death rate with that stuff is like through the roof too. Like your
it's
chances
high.
of dying
course.
in a wingsuit specifically are like higher than they should be.
I mean, like the most famous stuntman of all time, Dar Robinson, who created some of the most like used things still to this day that are like meant to keep stuntmen safe, died doing a stunt, right? Like, if you keep doing that shit over and over and over again, eventually
will catch
you
up to
punch
you.
too many.
Yeah. You're playing
Yeah.
the odds every single
The
time.
guy who invented
so
the wingsuit
eventually-
died.
Of
That
course.
makes sense.
Invented the what?
The wingsuit.
The big thing that makes you a giant flying squirrel.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
gonna say the flying squirrel suit. But yeah, all right. So to get back in, so Max walks in and grabs the head, and we were talking about it a minute ago. As soon as he looks over at it, the eyes open, and that's when you hear that like Wilhelm scream, which makes Max scream, and then he runs and throws the head over to Leroy, which makes him scream. And something about Leroy, I think when Leroy screamed,
Yep.
that's what got me. That made me like audibly laugh, which doesn't happen very often when I watch shows like this. As the body's kind of chasing them, they're trying to stop the head from making noises. So like Max slaps it, and Leroy puts like a gun to it, and he's like, "Stop it!" And he's like yelling at the head. And,
That made me laugh.
yeah, and it bites Max at one point. But
All the head stuff made me laugh.
yeah, it was good. And the arm from the body punches through the wall, which to recover the head.
Really wants his head back.
Yeah. And
Just trying to
then
get
they
some
go
head.
they go to grab Checker before the big guy does. Like I don't know what to call him otherwise. And they're
Big feller.
so they're too late, and they run to the roof because they hear something going on up there, and that's when Max sees Checker being beamed into the spaceship, and like that big guy's just he then opens his mouth like wide, and like one of those massive Ghostbuster like beams again comes out of his mouth and goes up to the ship. And as soon as that finishes, the ship just like disappears, and the guy's like back to normal. He's like, so apparently he was just like possessed by something, because as soon as that went away, he's just like,
Hey,
a
wait,
normal
don't
guy
shoot.
again.
yeah.
So I feel like a scene was cut because they go from the lab where he's like, he's not here, and then all of a sudden it's just Max on the roof. And then, so they don't explain like how he got such a lead on Leroy. I think there should have been at least like a scene of them on the stairs and Leroy.
Yeah, they
being,
might
like,
have did a
winded.
little chopping for time around there.
But,
Who
like-
knows? Yeah, because it was a little bit of a jump from one to the.
I
They
wouldn't be
kind of wrapped it up.
surprised,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so dense, like we keep saying, right? There's so much. Was this
Yeah.
a half an hour?
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
so.
it was.
Yeah,
It was under.
It was like a
they had to fit it in
24-minute
a half
episode.
hour.
Yeah, so I'm sure there was. I mean, if this ever continued on and they made like a Blu-ray or DVD or whatever, I'm sure this episode would have been extended to like an hour.
And I like that, like when Leroy does show up, like, yeah, we have the big guys like, don't shoot, but also when Max is trying to explain what happened to him, like, he's like, obviously he didn't see the spaceship, so he's like, oh, come on, like, it's like Max finally had someone that could have, like, who's in the realm of believing all this stuff, but he wasn't there for this moment, so he's like, are you sure you're not high? Like, Leroy
Just a
doesn't
bit
quite,
outside.
despite, but I would say at that point, right, like, Leroy is questioning it still, and like, are you sure you're not high? But you just witnessed a man pull his head off his body and like rest it
Yeah.
on
It's
a
the
table.
Independence Day conundrum again. Like when after aliens have invaded Earth, the dude doesn't believe what's his name, that he was abducted in like the
Randy
70s
Quaid.
or whatever. He's like, oh, this guy's crazy. It's like there's literally aliens here right now. Like, why don't you believe this is
Yeah, I mean,
You
it's
should
possible?
really-
believe
it's
Uncle
plausible.
Cousin Eddie.
That's because Randy Quaid's
Yeah.
character though is eccentric, you know.
You know what's
That-
weirder than
that's
Randy
the reason.
Quaid's character in that movie? Randy Quaid on Earth as a normal.
Oh my
Yeah.
god, yeah.
Who's probably in
I
the
love
so
with
much
the
crazy.
beard and the frilly hair now.
To be fair, is anybody surprised? Like he
No.
just looks like a crazy person.
But you want him to be like at that happy medium where like you think he could still get like jobs acting because he's always so funny and stuff. But like he's beyond that. He's not hired.
Like, I wanted
this
that to
had
be a
never
character.
happened-
I didn't want that to be the real
Yeah.
thing.
Right. Well, if this had never happened, every year we'd get like a fun Cousin Eddie Christmas commercial, and it would be
Yeah.
amazing, right? It would be
Yeah.
like Cousin Eddie for Hallmark. He'd be like, hell yeah! Like he'd be stoked every time it came on.
he would
Or,
for
like-
sure have made his way into like one of those Capital One ads by now.
Right.
Yeah.
Speaking of Cousin Eddie, have you ever seen Christmas Vacation sequel, Christmas Vacation 2, which is just about Cousin Eddie?
Cousin
No,
Eddie's Island. I own it. Yes,
It's so bad.
it's
When
terrible.
you said Christmas Vacation sequel, I was like, Vegas Vacation?
No, it's literally Christmas Vacation 2, and it's just Cousin Eddie and the family on a desert island. Like,
And they bring
Oh.
back the original Audrey from the first movie.
As Audrey again?
Yeah,
Interesting.
it's really not great.
I bet.
yeah, it's strange.
So anyways, back at Bureau Underground, they're now explaining what happened to the captain. She says, she's like, oh, it's a shame that time's up, but like a deal's a deal. And Leroy gets his job back with the LAPD, but Max, sadly, Stanford passed.
Stanford,
So,
sorry,
like,
no
yeah.
guy.
Yeah, so but we get the job at the bookstore.
Stanford is a
And,
no-go, but we got you reinstated at
Yeah.
the bookstore. Reinstating your
he's
retail
only gone
job
for
is
2
so
days
funny
too.
to
Like,
me.
did the bookstore fire him that quick? It's been 2 days. Yeah, but they both decide that they want to stay, and this goes back to what we were talking about earlier with the timeline. Like they gave them 48 hours for no specific reason, right? Because 48 hours ended mid-mission, and she's like, "Well, deal's a deal, bye." But maybe
Yeah.
that was a long play. She knew that once they got in, they would be interested.
They want to keep doing it.
because it caters to their strong
Yeah.
points. Like they've done their research on them. But yeah, so they both decided that they're going to stay, and they've accepted jobs at Bureau Underground. And after that, Steve Winwood starts playing again, and all the other members of the team show up to congratulate them for joining. And at the end, the close of the episode, Max sees a screen with multiple people that they've been monitoring who have similar abduction stories. And that's when this was like a good way to end the episode, in my opinion. He sees his wife is one of the ones there.
Yeah,
I love that. What a great way to end it.
Yeah.
You
And
left
they're
out the
all
slap,
in an-
though,
Yeah.
too.
And they're all in an insane asylum too.
Yes. Yep. So I thought it was a really fun way to end that episode because it ties everything in and it makes you want to watch that next episode and
Yep.
see what's going on. So
Yep.
as
Yep.
far as everything
Yep.
goes, I think that was like the perfect way to wrap that up. Because it just ends with her like screaming, right? They just show her and she's like screaming in like the padded room.
Mm-hmm.
The way that
Um,
killed me because I never watch these shows in advance. I always watch them the day where we're gonna record.
Yep.
And I watched this a week ago, so I've been sitting on that, dying.
Yeah.
See what happens next. For
Yeah.
like a week.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the entirety of the episode. So before we get into green light or canceling it, anything else you guys want to talk about as far as this episode goes or the show in general?
One thing you left out is with the Steve Winwood part at the end. That's when the whole watch your face thing came back around.
Oh, that's right.
and
That's
he
right.
slapped him right in the
You're right. So yeah,
Twice.
Yep.
he gets his receipt on him, and he gives him a good. Leroy gives Max a good slap as payback from before when he slapped him a couple times in the. with
We
the
also left off
fake
one of my
copy.
favorite lines in the episode at the end too, where he just asks him, "Why was the head yelling?" Which made me laugh so hard.
He was startled. It was picked up. He wasn't expecting someone to pick him up. But
Why
yeah,
was the head yelling?
I like her response too. Is I don't know. We're trying to find that out. It's like,
so one thing about the show, we talked about it at the very beginning when we discussed the fact that none of us had seen it or really even heard about it, was for sure they did a poor job advertising for it. But one other thing I do want to note on the other side, the more negative side of things, was I did feel like the writing could have been a lot better on the show. I thought it hits in like shows like this the way that they're operated, like they're more fixated on the comedy, so like you don't have to worry.
Yeah, I have
about
a lot
some of the
about
serious
that
stuff.
to talk about with the, around the horn part.
Yeah, but
I mean, it's very much a pilot.
yeah,
so it's
for
like-
sure. I just thought there were a couple loose ends they could have tied up a little bit better. A couple things they could have, the jokes could have landed a different way if they handled it different. But overall, any other notes? Anything else about these guys, this show, anything? Other than just the shock that it existed without any of us knowing about it.
I sort of think other than like Steve Winwood, the show has a great soundtrack. Like all the action scenes and stuff, and like the music in the background and stuff like that. It's always just very reminiscent of different sci-fi like action movies.
Yeah,
I thought they did a really good job.
like I said-
replicating
Mantis.
that. Yes, Mantis.
Early on, I mentioned I think they did a good job with the sound effects and the music, using it in a way that they played it like a serious show, so that the comedy, it actually using serious music added to the comedy, the way that like the discrepancy between tone and what was being said. So I thought that actually worked really well.
Yeah, it was scored well.
Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. I'm too tired.
But any other notes? Or do you guys want to get to the green light or cancel?
Flame on.
I was gonna say I'll take a long silence as yes. Let's get to it. So
I'll take a long silence as an
Yeah.
editable moment in this podcast.
Yeah. So I'll just go in the order that I'm seeing you guys in. So Gordo, you'd be first.
I'm gonna greenlight this. It was kind of it was hokey enough. I wanted to watch a second episode. It made me laugh. It made me want to jump into the world and see their kind of spin on everything.
Yeah.
Because I know it's not like a serious sci-fi thing, so hope it's funny. But yeah, I want to give a second episode a watch. So green light.
Joe.
I really actually enjoyed this show a lot. It's Office meets Repo Man meets James Bond meets Ghostbusters, maybe, is like the sort of, and like that all worked really well for me. This isn't streaming anywhere free, I believe, so I purchased the episode to watch, and at the end of watching it, it gives you the option of like, do you want to buy the rest of the season at the same discounted rate since you bought one, you moron? And I immediately was just like, fuck yes, okay. So it's a green light for me, and I will be continuing to watch it probably tonight.
Ferg.
Yeah, it's a great cast, great soundtrack. I love the comedy. I love supernatural things. This episode was all about like aliens, but I mean the show's called Ghosted because like they deal with supernatural ghosts, the Yeti, cryptids, everything like that. And I just can't wait to see how they deal with other things like that. So I was immediately sucked in. Plus with the cliffhanger ending. And I will never cancel a show that features Steve Winwood. So green light.
Nick.
I hate that I hate this show. I really like Adam Scott. I really like Craig Robinson. And I really like the idea of the show. I just think Fox killed this show. I hate the format. I don't like the way it looks and feels. Fox has a ton of commercials, right? I know we didn't have to experience those commercials, but Fox has so many commercials that you have to shoot around the breaks for them, and I noticed it. I noticed the hard cuts that you would have to go to commercial for. I didn't like a lot. There was like a lot of loose things that I felt like they could have been written smarter. And like I said, it bugs me that I don't like this show considering the cast, because I think it would have potential on another network. If that was on any other network, I think it would have done well. I'm not surprised that it got canceled. They ended this episode on a cliffhanger, and even then I was like, I just don't care. Like, I don't care to see any more of this show. I am hard canceling this show. I get why it's not around anymore. I did not enjoy it at all.
All right, so for me, I'm with the rest of you guys. So I'm going to greenlight it. My only real big concern, like I said, is I did feel like the writing needed to be a little better. It was fine because I think they had two really solid lead guys, and they can just make anything work. So I really enjoyed the dynamic between the two of them, and I was kind of bummed because I was like, I wish they would just use these two together for other stuff. Like, if the supernatural thing didn't work out, like, give them a new pilot, like put them on another show together where they're just like regular cops or something. You know, in any event, I did like it. And I'm someone who tends to not enjoy supernatural ghost type shows. Like, those things usually aren't my wheelhouse, but I really did. I did dig this. Nick, I agree with you that like the show reeks of Fox. It felt like a Fox show. The way it shoots and stuff, just the look of it looked like a Fox show.
It's cheap, yeah.
But it worked for me. I enjoyed it. The cliffhanger at the end 100% worked for me. Like, I was bummed I couldn't just immediately watch the next episode. So it's a green light. So overall, that's 4 out of 5 for us, guys. So Ghost did a show that literally no one really knew about, that came and went under the radar. With us watching it for the first time, got 4 out of 5. So 80%, you know, that's a strong green light from us. I don't know, Fox, you fucked up. But in any event, that's it for this week. So if you want to follow us, go to S1E1pod.com. That's where you can find the links to all the places where you can listen to us, all our social medias, everything's there. Rate, review, subscribe, do all that stuff. It means a lot to us. Spread the word. Let people know. If you enjoy our show, tell us, tell other people. Let us know shows you want us to cover. You know, we're open to anything. So we love the feedback. We like interacting with all you guys when you reach out. So that's it for us this week. Stay tuned for next week, which is week 3 of our Halloween-ish episodes for October. And we won't tell you what it is just yet, but it'll be on our Instagram shortly if you're listening live. So keep up. In a couple days, that'll get posted. And that's it. Thanks, everyone. Goodbye.
I think we got the best mantis.